do something loud enough and it gets our attention, then you will be famous for
Jason
it.
Montoya, in my opinion, is a very annoying Twitter account. And I don't say that to be disrespectful. I'm just being honest. No matter how bad things got for Tekken, bro was always there to like say, no, the developers did nothing wrong. You guys are overreacting. Even when the developers apologized, bro was still there talking about all you guys are this and all you guys are that. This person is like basically a real shill. And also too, Michael Murray follows this account and this account follows Michael Murray. And that's also, you know, created some type of like conspiracy where it's like, how do these two follow each other, know each other, you know, what type of connection do they have? But the part that I am interested in is this person made a video titled Season 2 Overreaction Hurt Tekken More Than the Patch Ever Did. This is one of the people who's blaming the players.
Hey everyone, it's Jason. I've been thinking a lot about the state of the Tekken community lately, especially in light of Season 2 and the reaction it sparked. Let me say this up front. It's okay to have feedback. It's okay to dislike a patch. But what we saw with S2, that wasn't just feedback. It was a wave of doomsaying, toxicity, and outrage that actively hurt the game and the people who love it. Evo Japan proved the narrative wrong. Defense wasn't dead. New moves didn't ruin the game. The best players in the world won using skill, adaptation, and yes, strong defensive play. That's the real story here. But instead of talking about that, we got stuck in a loop. A loud group pushed negativity, and it spread like wildfire. The noise drowned out real progress, and it's time to call it what it is.
What I will say, just on the part of Evo Japan being great and now Combo Breaker being great, this is something that I realized about Tekken 8. Tekken 8, if you know everything, when to sidestep, when to interrupt, when to crouch, if you know all of those different type of things for every string in the game like a pro player would, then you can play a certain type of defense. But if you don't know those things, which the Tekken developers know that most people don't know those things, don't know when to sidestep, don't know when to jab interrupt, the devs know that most players don't know how to do that. So when you look at all of those players who don't know how to do that, they can't move, they can't interrupt, they're just guessing. And that's where I would disagree with this person, that the game looks one way and competitive because they have a lot more knowledge than the average player, and the average player is drowning in all of the forced aggression because they don't know when they could do this or when they can't. And that's why you can have a very successful tournament like Evo Japan and Combo Breaker, but then the next day the numbers for this game is at very low, right? Because the average player, and even the pros, even though the pros can perform in this environment, I mean, they've been arguing since season 2 about this game being terrible, right? Arsenal said the game makes them depressed. Ulsan was crashing out on Twitter. No one really likes it, even though there's people who can play and thrive in this environment.
Let's begin with the biggest myth. Defense is dead. Really? Because Evo Japan said the exact opposite. Watch those matches again. What wins games? Sidesteps, whiff punishes, spacing, baiting heat activations.
But you see, all of the stuff he's listing is like very high level Tekken. Baiting in Tekken is a very high level strategy. Most red ranks don't even understand the concept of let me bait out a rage art. So when you start talking about baiting out heat moves,
That's defense. That's Tekken. Players like me didn't win by spamming or gimmicks. They won with knowledge, discipline, and timing. If anything, Season 2 forced players to learn real defense instead of relying on old option selects like Tekken 7 style KVD escapes. A negative narrative dropped first because negativity gets clicks. Clicks make cash. And content creators saw early outrage perform well, and suddenly defense is gone became the gospel before anyone had time to analyze, adapt, and reflect. No breathing room, no time to play things out, no tournament data, just perception. And Evo proved it false. Many aspects.
but you can't take tournaments as gospel because we know that two different types of Tekken exist. The developers know that casuals can't distinguish between throws, punish most 13 frame attacks. The developers know what the average player is capable of. You know, pretending that the average player is supposed to somehow wake up and unlock some godly ability to play defense that they never have been able to in any Tekken. The average Tekken player has never been able to punish, has never been able to sidestep, like intentionally and repetitively, and no.
Season 2 gave each character 2-3 new tools. Of course they were strong. That's the point. If a restaurant introduces a new dish, it's not bland. Ugh. It's flavorful. It's exciting. Sure, too much sugar can ruin a meal, but so can plain oatmeal. Ugh. And here's the thing. Those powerful new moves, they didn't even change the EVO results. The players who won didn't win because of buffs. They won with spacing, with punishment, knowledge checks, experience, and defense. If those moves didn't impact the competitive meta, how did they ruin Tekken? They didn't. That's more S2 overreaction. Another idea
Players like this who thinks that people are overreacting, it's funny when the developers nerf all these tools. Like all of these tools that bro is referring to, saying that it's not that powerful, guys. When the devs nerf it, like will he be complaining and like, now it's too weak? Or will he just be like, the devs were bullied into this?
keep hearing weakness defines a character's identity. Since when? Yes, flaws are part of design, absolutely, but so are strengths. Hurong's pressure, King's command throws, Raven's evasiveness, Jin's mix-ups, these define character playstyles too. But again, the first loud take becomes the accepted truth. The community agrees. Really? Or are we just repeating what sounded clever the first time we heard it? I mean, really think about that. That's what we call a specious take. Sounds smart, but it doesn't hold up under pressure. And unfortunately, the FGC stopped pressure testing its ideas. We didn't ask, does this break the game? We jumped to, burn it down.
Going back to the part where bro was talking about strengths and weaknesses, I think it's pretty absurd. I do think weaknesses define the character, but also strengths. But the thing is that they're giving characters other strengths. For example, the Kazuya move that covered his weakness. The developers made that track to one direction now, players celebrate it, because it made him too powerful in a way that he's not supposed to be powerful. Characters are supposed to be weak in a certain type of way, and powerful in a certain type of way. The Asuka mains are loving the newfound power, but they also say at the same time, in order for Asuka to become top tier, all you have to do is get rid of everything that made her Asuka, right?
Worse, some content creators just let it slide, or they made clicks for it to make money. Leaders stayed quiet. What used to be critique turned into entitlement. Feedback turned into rage. Nuance got drowned out. Let me be clear. Let me be really clear on this. Feedback is not the problem, but the tone is. You ruined the game! 2 or 3 moves per character out of hundreds of moves each character. And the response was declared Tekken unplayable because of a few moves? That's not a balanced critique, that's overreaction. We didn't give it patch time to breathe. We didn't watch the meta unfold. We didn't let high-level play speak for itself. We panicked and dragged the whole community into it.
Then the part where bro was saying they didn't give season 2 a time to breathe, the developers apologizing says everything you need to know about the game, right? They apologized and they said, yeah, we did lie. It shows that everyone was right in their initial complaint. The opposite of this would be that if we thought season 2 was trash on launch, and here we are 2 months later. 2 months later, we're like, wait, actually this update is really fire. The fact that we all feel the same way right now, 2 months after the release of season 2, as we did day 1 of season 2, shows that no matter how long we delayed our complaints, it was gonna be the same.
And I don't know if some of you OGs remember Chinaman, an old Tekken player. I always remember what he told me about the OGs back in the day when I first started playing in the late 1990s, tournament-wise. I played Tekken since its birth, but dig into the tournaments till about 97, 98, 99. And I always remember what Chinaman said. He goes, you know, the difference between the Tekken community and these other communities, if we run into something difficult, we just find a way around it. And that was a very positive outlook at the time.
Okay, look. One could argue that line of logic would work, but Tekken 7 introduced this idea that I can complain on Twitter and the devs will listen. And I always talked about how that was a bad thing. I talked about how the devs listening to players on Twitter and listening to pros on Twitter will create this world where everyone complains about everything. When you do that as a developer, you have to understand that you're sending a message and you're to everyone and saying, whatever you feel is wrong about the game, if you could make that go viral, we will change it. That's what they showed us. That viral is so true. It's what they care about. After I got a few viral Tekken tweets, that's when Murray followed me.